What's up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. This last week was our biggest ever for our members, including 2 more millionaires. NFL was our biggest cash cow last week, highlighted by some great calls across all of our content, including JT Hayes being all over the 49ers game script on Sunday.
I think Todd Bowles is a terrible head coach, and I think they'll come in with a terrible game plan in this game, and I think they could get wiped. I think it means a lot of touches for Christian McCaffrey, so if you simply pivot from Henry to McCaffrey, that's a huge ownership discount.
Our cores and player pools were littered with the highest scoring players on the slate. Our members were in sync with our content, and the leaderboards proved it. JDub115 hit for 7K. Sammy Davis Jr. hit for 10K. OG member Brittany turned $75 into 11K. Jay Reed won 30K. CSP246 shipped 40K. Craven or Vag used Mangones and my weekly construction advice to hit for 40K. And K Phallic hit for 46K with a Russell Wilson lineup. We'll get to our biggest NFL winners in just a second. But first, we need to shout out some big wins in our other sports. Our content continued to crush in the soccer streets, with NYG fan hitting for 10K. K Phallic's hot streak continued in the World Cup, shipping for 27K. In NBA, Long Dick Dong hit for 7K, while in MMA, Sevens Vox shipped a monster 51K. At Rumpier Sports, we take pride in featuring content contributors who actually make a living playing DFS. There's nothing better than when our members benefit from our content, and this week was the best week yet, producing 2 DraftKings Millie Maker winners to follow up last week's Millie Maker success. Shout out to Deepwater, who shipped $1 million in the 44-44, and huge shout out as well to Gordon Jonathan. He shipped the $20 Millionaire Maker with a monster score of 272 DK points, blowing away the competition. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a very special edition of the Saturday Millie Maker Roundtable. The show usually happens Saturday night, but with the tasty little 3-game slate in the NFL today, we've moved it to now, Saturday morning. We're going to break down all 3 games, game by game, talking, of course, Millie Maker strategy, game theory, and our favorite plays on the slate. No locks today. He is in New Orleans with the crew for the DraftKings Live final, but we do have a very special guest, Meg, joining us today. Meg, how you doing on this Saturday?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to join you guys, and I love playing short slates. So I love these like kind of island, 3-game slates on a Saturday or a holiday. So I'm super excited to talk about this with you guys.
Yeah. These aren't the best games in the world. They've all kind of got holes to poke in them a little bit.
Sure.
We'll obviously get to that, but you're right. I do love these slates in general. Reminds me obviously of the Thanksgiving slate, which we had not too recently with the 3 games in a row. You can adjust lineups, change plays based on, how your early guys do, what you need to do to catch up. So there's a lot of, strategy that goes into it, along with of course, trying to pick the right plays, pick winners. But yeah, I love it. Full day of football. I'll be watching all day, of course. And Snyder, I'm sure you will too. Your Ravens on the slate. How you doing on this Saturday, Snyder?
Yeah, looking forward to this slate. Like you guys are saying, we got 3 games here. We got the chance to swap in and off of some plays as the slate goes. If you hit some contrarian plays early, you can kind of swap on to more of the safer plays and vice versa if the opposite happens. So looking forward to diving into the slate, and we're going to have the much anticipated snow game to round the slate out too. It'll be fun diving into that game as well.
Yeah, the last game on the slate is Miami-Buffalo. That game, the total has fallen. I think it was 45, 46 early in the week, down to 43 now. Based on the pictures I've seen in the forecast, I wouldn't be surprised if it closes even lower than the 43 number I'm seeing. We saw they obviously moved the game in Buffalo to Detroit. What was that, 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Right.
We did see a game. I'm seeing like similar projections to the famous LaShawn McCoy game back, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago now, it seems like,
Yeah.
where he was like the only one that did anything, but he went absolutely crazy. You couldn't really pass the ball in that game. We'll see, right? I mean, things can change, but right now, I think it could be a rough sledding for two, really good passing offenses. Obviously, Josh Allen and Tua Tagovailoa. So, interesting way to finish the slate. We'll get there eventually, but let's start with the first game on the slate. It is the Minnesota Vikings and Indianapolis Colts. Vikings 3.5 point favorites here, 47 total. So by a good margin, the highest total on the slate. Obviously, you've got the Vikings, usual suspects. Meg will be out there. Justin Jefferson coming off just a massive game. Dalvin Cook has not been good recently, has had some tough matchups, so maybe he can bounce back here. We've got Thielen, Hawkinson, 3 game slate. You got to consider everyone. So KJ Osborne, their third receiver, I think is in play today. And on the Colts side, yeah, we kind of know what they're going to do as well. A lot of Jonathan Taylor, and then the statue, the corpse of Matt Ryan, going to be back there trying to distribute the ball to the likes of Pittman, Paris Campbell. They've got the three-headed tight end duo, and then rookie Alec Pierce, I think, is a decent play here too. So this game, I'll be honest, on a normal slate, if this game was tomorrow on Sunday, I don't know how much of this game I would have. The Colts do have a pretty strong pass defense, but on this slate at a 47 total, of course, we've got to consider it arguably the best spot to attack. So talk to me about Colts and Vikings, Meg.
Yeah, like you said, if this was a full slate, who knows? But on a 3 game slate, and especially with the other 2 games being outdoor divisional games with lower totals, and of course the snow game, I'm going to be way overweight this game entirely, because this is, like you said, it's more game theory. So that's how I'm going to kind of play this, and I'm going to be overweight this game on both sides of the ball. You mentioned about the Colts pass defense, but some of the quarterbacks they face, I mean, think about some of the quarterbacks in their division, aren't that difficult. And I do believe there might be some injuries to some Colts cornerbacks. So I want to follow up and look at that. And then we know the Vikings defense. I mean, they're giving up, I believe, the most yards allowed to, in the passing game. So, that's just a pass funnel. And, do I normally want to play Matt Ryan? Oh my God, absolutely not. Like you said, he looks like he's running in cement. It's awful. But, in this case, in regards to Matt Ryan, when he's played, these tough pass rush and good defenses, no, you don't want to be anywhere near him. But when he's played like teams in his division and other teams that don't get to the quarterback, he's put up like 350 yards against some of these teams. So I think that's in play today, and it feels gross, but I'm very, again, want to be overexposed to this game. I'm going to overstack this game in a lot of ways. So I want, on both sides of the ball, exposure to both quarterbacks, both stud receivers, both running backs, definitely Hawkinson. And then in the case of the Colts, I have a ton of interest in Alec Pierce. I have been playing him on every showdown. He's either a hero or a zero. He's gotten, I think, 1-0 when he played the Steelers, and then 2 times he was like, in play for captain. So, Alec Pierce, he's this is the time of year where these rookies can really break out. And, I could see that, especially them coming off a breakout performance for Alex Pierce. So love Alex Pierce, especially at that price. So again, just really overweight this game for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think a lot of people will end up stacking this game. I will say, interested to hear your opinion on the running backs. Dalvin Cook, 6,900, I believe, on DraftKings. Jonathan Taylor, 7,200. I'll be honest, SNYDER, we'll go to SNYDER. Like, I don't really like any of the running backs on this slate. If I didn't have to play any running backs, I don't think I would. I would just load up on wide receivers. Maybe in Miami, Buffalo, we can get to running backs, but you got to consider these guys, obviously, with the volume that they're going to get at the running back position. I'll say this too, SNYDER, I do, on a normal slate, I don't love playing defenses against any of my players. The Vikings defense against Matt Ryan, I do think will get some sacks, probably an interception. Ryan's just been sacked, turning the ball over. He just can't move, like we've talked about. But his receivers can also get there, right? He's peppered. Paris Campbell, Pierce, Pittman are cheap enough, obviously, where I do think you could even play 2 receivers and the Vikings defense in one lineup. So 3-game slates do allow for, I maybe not require, I think, a little more creativity in lineup building. Let's throw it to Snyder for the Colts and the Vikings. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I was kind of going to bring that up as well. Playing the Vikings defense against Matt Ryan. If you want to play Matt Ryan in this game, he leads the league in interceptions thrown this year at 13. He takes a lot of sacks. I think that's kind of a way to kind of differentiate yourself in this game, where a lot of people are going to look to stack this game up, as it is the only dome game on the slate here. Perfect conditions here. You got the next game that's going to have a total in like 38-ish, I think it's at. So a lot of people are in the snow game there. So I think the majority of the ownership is going to come to this game. So I really like playing some Matt Ryan teams with the Vikings defense in there. You get a pick six, and then he comes back the other way and throws for a couple touchdowns. You're sitting pretty good there. I think a lot of the defensive ownership is probably going to come in that later game with the Dolphins like near min price, like 2.3K, and then the Bills are there as well. So I'm looking at some Vikings in my teams for sure. They're Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook are both going to push 50% ownership, I think, on this slate. I think they're both good plays. I'm going to pick one of them only to play, though, and I'm leaning with Jonathan Taylor there. He's coming off the bye week last week, fresh legs this week. He's averaging 24 touches, I believe, since Jeff Saturday's taken over the reins as the head coach here. So I really like Taylor here this week. The Vikings have been beatable more so through the air, but they have gave some pretty decent games to running back. So I'm going to be on Jonathan Taylor as my main option from the Colts side. And the pass catcher I like favorite is going to be Alec Pierce there. He's seen 8 targets in 2 of his last 3 games. Last week he had 4 for 86 and found the box. So I really like him as a value play under 4K here. And Michael Pittman's going to pop in a lot of models and such. I think he's going to be pretty popular. I think the 2 highest ceilings are definitely on this slate in Jonathan Taylor. And then the next guy is going to be Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson's the guy I'm looking to get overweight on from this Viking side. He is just 465 yards away from breaking Calvin Johnson's single season receiving yards record. So I think they're going to try and bottle him up. They have been really good against pass catchers this year, but a lot of people have tried to bottle up Justin Jefferson this year, and it just doesn't seem to work. Justin Jefferson is just different. He is that dude. So I'm going to be overweight on Jefferson here. I think I'm going to downgrade the other receivers, though, with Adam Thielen. I'm going to X him. I'm going to X the other guy, Osborne. So I'm not going to play him. But I do like playing some Hawkinson there. I think Hawkinson is going to be the highest owned tight end. So I'm going to look to play him in like 2 tight end builds to kind of get different. So I really like him, and then another tight end later we'll get into that. I think is going to come in kind of criminally lower owned for where he should be. So it'll be interesting to get into there. But Hawkinson and Jefferson are my favorite 2 plays. And Jonathan Taylor and Alex Pierce are my favorite 2 plays on the Colts side. I'm not looking to really stack this game up. I'm going to kind of try and get different in that fact and just play a few pieces from this game and look to play us maybe a quarterback from the next game or something there. But definitely think Kirk Cousins is definitely viable here. He's going to be the highest owned quarterback, I think. And then Matt Ryan, he's probably going to be around 20%, and that's fine for the cheap price tag there at 5.2. So definitely think there's a lot of ways you can attack this game. More so, it's going to be like a 2v2 or a 3-2 for me in this game, most likely.
Yeah, good stuff there. And I think especially on 3-game slates, so much of success or potential success is about building smart lineups, right? Lineups that make sense, that can kind of find a way to the top if the games go the way you think they're going to go. So I do think, you want at least a couple pieces from this game, if only just to give yourself some information about what you need to do with the rest of your lineup going forward. You don't have to full stack it. I think it's certainly viable to do so, but yeah, get a couple pieces in here. I think the running backs are very good options. I'm with you, Snyder. I do think Jonathan Taylor, the clear best running back option on this slate. I do think Dalvin Cook is the second best. I get, only playing one of them, you start to run out of money, and it's hard to play Dalvin Cook over Justin Jefferson. A little bit difficult on this slate to fit in both. And I'm with you, despite the, on paper, tough matchup against the Colts defense. Jefferson is just so good. He's at home here in the Dome. You got to think he's going to have a big game. So I kind of like your, strategy, because I'm seeing Adam Thielen maybe be the 3rd or 4th highest owned wide receiver on this slate. Maybe just go in with Jefferson, go with the stud, and hope that he comes through. So I do like that strategy. Of course, the Vikings defense, as we talked about, is in play. And yeah, I mean, if I'll have some games that are Ryan, Campbell, Pierce, Jefferson, Hawkinson, right? Kind of the full stack. Meg, I see you're nodding your head. That seems like it's kind of going to be the way that you go about building on the slate.
Yes, and I'm going to overstack this game in several lineups, but I will definitely hedge and then do some where, I'll be contrarian and stack the late game just in case, these are two amazing offenses, and we'll get to that. But, I'll do my best to hedge that a little bit. But yes, in general, I will be overstacking this game. And then I'll just have small pieces to kind of make pivots to. And I do realize that, but that's kind of the way I'm going to be playing it, because I really see a lot of points here comparatively to these other could be divisional slugfest,
Love it. We'll move on to the next game. Before we do, just a reminder, hit the like, hit the subscribe. It does allow us to bring you these free videos, multiple free videos a day here on the Run Pure Sports channel. So yeah, hit the like. We'll give our plays of the day at the end of the show if we get a reasonable like number. I won't set a number, but just hit the like button. It does help us out. And hit the subscribe, of course, so you don't miss any of our content. We've got more stuff coming up the rest of today. And of course, big Sunday tomorrow. We'll have 2 hours of free NFL programming. I'll be on the Morningwood Show with Hoop and Crane, and we've got the Off the Chalk Show before that. So, help us out with that. Let's move on to the next game on the slate. Divisional matchup here between the Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens. This is the Browns that are slight favorites, 2.5-point home favorites, a total of 38.5. Here, Snyder. It feels a little bit light to me, and I think you might be on the same side as that, judging as your core up on runpuresports.com has. I'll go ahead and say it. Tyler Huntley as your main quarterback. I like it. A running QB. He got did he get concussed? Yeah, in that last game against Pittsburgh. Sounds like it not too bad. He was like back practicing the next day or Tuesday, so he should be good to go. Lamar Jackson may be back next week, but is out for this game, so it will be Tyler Huntley behind center. He was off to a okay start in that game, 8 for 12 for 88 yards. Had already rushed 9 times for 31 yards though in that game. Had 10 carries for 41 yards against Denver. Has had 2 really tough matchups against Denver and then at Pittsburgh in these 2 games. But we did see some success from him last year. Snyder likes throwing to Mark Andrews, who has been quiet. I've been waiting for his breakout. Maybe it's today. And then the rest of the Baltimore wide receivers, I'll be interested to hear your breakdown. Duvernay, Robinson, Deshaun Jackson, all cheap, but all obviously have some question marks. And then Cleveland side's interesting too. You've got Deshaun Watson in his 3rd game. Still didn't look great, I didn't think, in that last game on the road against Cincinnati, but was a little bit better, right? Did get a touchdown pass, 276 yards through the air, 6 carries, 33 yards on the ground. You could get it going here. So yeah, I think Watson, Huntley, and then the running backs too. Dobbins kind of out of nowhere had the big game. 120 yards on the ground. 50 of those came on a play where he ended up like limping down the field. I'm sure I'm sure a lot of people saw the highlight. I assumed he was going to come out of the game at that point, but I think he scored a touchdown maybe on the next play or certainly on that drive. So that's an interesting spot. I think a really interesting game here. I do think this game has a good chance to go over the total, and it is my 2nd favorite game on this slate after Colts Vikings. Snyder, will throw it to you. Baltimore Cleveland.
Yeah, I like this game quite a bit for reasons. I think there's a lot of ways you can kind of attack this game. I do like the running back positions here. Again, I mean, the Browns are averaging or giving away the 3rd most points to running backs this year, over 5 yards per carry. They're averaging just under 27 points per game to the position, DraftKings points. So I'm going to be on some J.K. Dobbins again. I played him in some, I was talking to AP and some other guys in the chat last week. I was on Dobbins some last week at the 4K min. His price came up a little bit, but I think he's going to see 15 to 17 touches in this game again. Really good spot for him. And I don't think he's going to be that highly owned. It looks like his ownership is going to be pretty low. So I'm definitely going to be overweight on Dobbins in this spot. I think you can mix in Gus Edwards too. He's another guy that'll probably see 12 to 15 touches maybe in this game. So I'm going to be more so on Dobbins, maybe sprinkle in some Edwards there. But I do like Tyler Huntley here on this slate. I think a lot of people are going to play like the Matt Ryan in that first game. And you got Tyler Huntley coming in, under 15% ownership right here. And he's legitimately got 70 to 100 yard rushing upside in this spot. So I think this is a spot where he can scramble and kind of get away from the defenders here. The Browns defense doesn't scare me at all as they struggle versus running back. So they got to be pretty bad versus the quarterbacks there too. And they are without starting linebacker. I can't pronounce his game, but he went out last week. I'm not even going to try it. But definitely think that's going to be a big boost for Huntley and for Mark Andrews. Definitely have been waiting for that Mark Andrews breakout. I played him some last week, and his price tag is criminally underpriced for this slate. I think under 6K. I think he's definitely should be in that 6K range. I expect him to continue to see, 6 to 8 targets in this game. And if he can do that with a healthy Huntley, who kind of zeroed in on him last year, we saw those big games he had against the Packers and someone else where he put up 30-plus points on 2 of Huntley's starts last year. So I think that's definitely in the range of outcomes here. In years past, we have targeted the Browns with tight ends too. So I think it all just kind of goes into a good a deal there for Huntley, Andrews, and Dobbins are my top plays from the Ravens side. And you move it over to the Browns side, and I was kind of digging into this game earlier from a standpoint. I was kind of looking into stuff, and then I came across a deal where Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson had a huge connection in Houston, and I kind of think Donovan Peoples-Jones kind of fills in that Will Fuller type role for Deshaun here. Peoples-Jones leads the team in receptions and yards since Watson's taken over here. I think a lot of people are going to go more so with the Cooper side, but I think Peoples-Jones outscores Cooper today, and you get a $1,000 price savings there. So Peoples-Jones is a guy I'm going to be heavily overweight on. Looks like he's going to be right around that 15% ownership too. So I really like that, the low owned play there. Kind of mix in some of these lower owned guys to help kind of differentiate yourself with that early game too. So I think there's a lot of good possibilities here. I don't mind the Ravens defense there as well at 3K. They've been playing a lot better since they got Roquan Smith. They're going to get some sacks. They had 3 interceptions last week against the Steelers. I think they could pick Watson off here a couple times. He is a little aggressive at times, so I think they could get a pick 6 here or something. So I think there's quite a few possibilities for me. I'm going to look to target in this game.
Yeah, I am. I agree with most of what you said. I'm in on Peoples-Jones. I think he's a good player. Baltimore's like Marcus Peters is a big name, but really hasn't played very well this year.
He's really aggressive too.
And it's a huge athletic mismatch, Peoples-Jones against Peters. I mean, I think it feels like Peoples-Jones has been around a while, but this is just his 3rd year in the league. He's an athletic, just a true athletic freak, right? And like you mentioned, Watson kind of plays a little backyard football style, scrambles around. I think that fits Peoples-Jones, right? He gets loose in the secondary. I could see a long touchdown for him. He's getting the targets anyway. And like you said, the reports early on before Watson got suspended, he was practicing with the team, like at minicamp and stuff like that, I believe. And Peoples-Jones was reportedly his favorite target. You kind of saw that last game. So I'm in on Peoples-Jones over Cooper, who I know he's not on the injury report, but he might be playing through a little bit of a hip injury himself. So love the Peoples-Jones call. Snyder, did you talk about the Baltimore wide receivers? How do you rank Duvernay, Robinson, and Jackson?
Yeah, I would probably go with Robinson there. He's the guy that's getting the targets as of late. 6 targets, 8 targets, 4 targets, 9 targets the last 4 games. But I think his upside is kind of capped, though. 4K is fine for a 3-game slate like this. I'll sprinkle some in with my Huntley teams, but it's not a guy I'm like overly looking to play. Like I'd rather play like a few other pass catchers on the other games before him. But I definitely think he's viable for like the Millie or something. He's a guy that can definitely catch like a 70-yard bomb or something and then completely break the slate. Yeah. So I definitely think he's in play, and he should be in your pool for MME. Yeah,
makes sense there with the Baltimore pass catchers. Mark Andrews is the guy that I want, but could certainly mix in those other guys. Meg, we know you're on the Indiana-Minnesota game, but who are your favorite pieces here in the Baltimore-Cleveland game?
Well, I'd ask Snyder pre-show how he felt about the Ravens, because I like the Ravens today. I think the Ravens win today. So I'm very, very high on Dobbins and the Ravens defense. I think the Ravens defense has been playing much better of late. Really like both of them. And Dobbins is just coming in solo owned. And I get, people are worried about like maybe, his workload and the running back by committee kind of thing. But at that ownership and that price, it's just too good for me to pass up, and that talent, right? I mean, I understand it's running back by committee, but he's, I believe, their most talented running back. And so I'm going to be very, very overweight on Dobbins. Probably one of my favorite plays on the slate today, and the defense. And Mark Andrews. I definitely want a little bit of exposure to Mark Andrews. Don't really have much interest in the Ravens pass catchers. But those three pieces of the Ravens, I definitely do, because I like them to win today. On the Brown side, I don't know. At first, looking at the slate, I thought I had interest in Chubb, and then digging into it a little bit more, Ravens have been pretty tough against the run. So I don't know that. I think I'm going to be pretty underweight on him. DPJ is the one for me on the Brown side. And I'll sprinkle, and you got to, kind of on these 3-game slates, be willing to rotate defenses because it's so fluky. So I'll have a little exposure to Browns defense too. But I would say DPJ is my favorite on the Browns, and maybe a little bit Njoku, the tight end.
Yeah, it makes sense. And obviously, we talked about just building teams smartly. If you're in on the Vikings Colts game, the way to kind of build in this game, you're basically hoping, that it kind of duds out a little bit, right? In the Dobbins, Ravens D correlation play, you hope that they control it on the ground. I totally get that.
Right.
You mentioned the Ravens run defense. I mean, they have been ridiculously good. Total rushing yards allowed in their last 6 games, starting with the most recent: 65, 88, 38, 36, 48, and 44. Now, those aren't the best running teams in the league, but still really impressive numbers from that Ravens run
DC,
defense.
Shout out to Tony in the chat. We've got a narrative here too with the Dobbins. It looks like it's J.K. Dobbins' birthday today as well.
Even better.
I'll have some Dobbins, and I get the play. I am a little worried about that knee acting up, though.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. But yeah, I mean, on this slate, you kind of got to consider him. Who's next? Edwards, right, is the guy that you would expect.
Yeah, Gus Edwards should. I think it's going to be mainly like a 65-35 in favor of Dobbins. It would be my guess.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake had a couple big games, but he seems to be third in line at this point. So
yeah.
And like you said, conversely to the Ravens run defense being good, the Browns run defense is horrible. So, it kind of all lines up: price, ownership, matchup. For me, I'm going to be overweight and just hope that knee hangs in there.
Yeah. Hold on, Dobbins. We don't need you.
Do it for your have a good birthday. Let's go.
Yeah. He can't hurt his knee on his birthday. So
Right.
I like the Dobbins call. It's certainly an interesting game here. I will have exposure to both these quarterbacks. I wouldn't be shocked if this game, like I said, went over the total and maybe a sneaky shootout here. I certainly like Baltimore and Cleveland better than the Miami-Buffalo game. We obviously talked about it a little bit at the top of the show, but it looks like this game is going to be played in like a true blizzard, right? They already got a ton of snow there in Buffalo, where the stadium is, and it looks like it's going to snow all day. I'm seeing like 100% chance of snow during this game. Again, you never know, but looks pretty likely that this game will be played in some rough conditions. I think it's going to be hard to throw the ball, especially throw it downfield, which is, tough for Miami. I'm nervous about this Miami offense getting much done here. I mean, it's a tough matchup anyway, right? Any game going on the road to Buffalo when you're a team like Miami is a tough spot, and you throw in these conditions, and Buffalo, their team's excited probably to play in this. They're built for it. Stadium's going to be rocking. I mean, this is a tough spot for Tua and the Miami offense. And listen, they've struggled in tough conditions the last 2 games, right? I was all over the 49ers defense last week in that last game against them, and I'll be on the Buffalo defense here. Jalen Waddle, I'm not paying $7K for him. I do think Tyreek Hill, I have to imagine they're going to get him his touches regardless, right? Any way they have to do it, whether that's in the running game, short passes, you've got to get the ball. He can make plays on his own. I mean, with that incredible fumble return for a touchdown he had last week. So I do like Tyreek Hill the best of the Miami pass catchers. Talk to me about Miami, Buffalo, your thoughts on the weather and your approach to this game.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate about the weather, right? Because I mean, if this was in a normal conditions, I think this game would be so exciting and fun.
What would the total be
watch.
if this game was in Miami in normal weather? Probably 52 or something like
I
that.
was going to say, not many totals this year have been over 50, but I think this one would
be, yeah.
Yeah, I think this one would. And so it's really unfortunate that just the weather conditions, and honestly, that has like gotten me turned around all week. I keep looking at the weather. I keep trying to analyze it, seeing if I can poke any holes to try to like understand how bad it will be, or is it maybe not going to be as bad. I read something, I believe today that maybe just an inch would fall during the game. I don't know what that means. I'm not a meteorologist, so I don't really know what the impact and that's going to do during the game. But like you said, there is still going to be like 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. It's going to be absolutely freezing, snow everywhere. It's tough because these are two very talented offenses. So certainly if you want to be contrarian, I think this is a way to, stack up this game a little bit. And of course, but again, you heard how I felt in the first game. I of course want some pieces in the second game. It's hard because I think if I'm going to play contrarian, I'll probably hedge and do a couple contrarian lineups with stacking this game. Other than that, I'll just take pieces. So of course, in those contrarian stacks, I may do a super contrarian one with Tua. And then Allen, he's got that rushing floor that, it makes things a little safer, even in snow conditions. So on the Buffalo side, for me, it's a little bit of Allen, Diggs, and Knox. Maybe James Cook just for the price, but that committee feels very confusing to me and I can't figure out. Gabe Davis's price is so like enticing right now, but boy, does he just let me down every single week. And in these conditions, and his ADOT, that seems hard to see him get there. But, at that price, if you want to take a shot, I get it. On the Dolphins side, again, they're all kind of would be very contrarian plays, but I agree with you. Hill is by far my best play. And I'm actually kind of prioritizing him as like my late night hammer low owned, piece to that game. If I, I'm going to be overweight on the first two games in general. So that's kind of how I'm handling it. Kind of a couple contrarian stacks, but other than that, maybe just some pieces like Knox or Diggs or especially Hill.
Yeah, I just can't imagine the Dolphins won't find a way to get the ball to Tyreek Hill. I can see a bunch of short receptions. Miami does have Jeff Wilson questionable for this game. If he's out, you should see a near full workload for Raheem Mostert. So that's interesting.
Right.
The Buffalo. I mean, I hate playing Buffalo running backs in general. I almost never play Singletary, but he might be a good play here, right? I think, especially if the conditions are really bad. I think SNYDER, he would be the guy they trust over the rookie James Cook, right? To hang onto the ball. He's kind of a grinder in between the tackles, whereas Cook is more of the kind of explosive athlete type. So I will have some exposure to Singletary. I don't love it. Gabe Davis kind of has trouble catching the ball anyway. The deep shots seems like a rough spot for him, but 5K is certainly enticing. Talk to me, SNYDER, Miami and Buffalo.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to be mainly targeting like some of these lower ADOT guys in this game. Like I think they're going to still get the ball to Tyreek Hill. I think Jalen Waddle is an all right millie maker, like leveraged late night hammer. I don't think he's going to be owned at all at 7K. I think people are either going to go to Tyreek Hill there or they're going to go to the running back side there from Miami with Mostert. I think Mostert could be like 35% on, maybe even more if we get news before the first game starts. His ownership could increase even more. So definitely something to watch there with Mostert there. I think both of the running backs are definitely viable for this game. Singletary, I think, is the guy that has, I would project him for like right around 15 to 17 carries in this game. It's like that last snow game where we saw, you were kind of talking about it before the show there with LaShawn McCoy. That was a 13-7 game there. It sounds like they could have like up to 8 inches of snow before kickoff, and then throughout the night there's heavy bands they said that could hit near the lake. So they didn't really give an amount of snow, but it sounds like it could be pretty bad. But it'll be interesting to watch and track as the day goes.
I'm excited to watch this game, but
yeah,
not so much to roster players.
it'll be fun. I think that Patriots played in that one game where the Patriots had like one passing attempt. I think they played the Bills. It was kind of a similar situation than this. So be interesting to see how the warm weather Dolphins accumulate themselves to these conditions. Tyreek Hill would be my favorite guy probably for a pass catcher. I do kind of like Isaiah McKenzie for the Bills side. Low ADOT. I think he's a guy 4.1K. He can catch some 5 to 6 shorter passes there. I think the majority of the ownership is going to go to Diggs. It looks like, looking at ownership wise, he's going to be like right around 35% probably. Not sure if I'm going to get there. I think I'd rather just pay the extra money for Justin Jefferson and just X Diggs. Have a little bit of Hill, some Waddle in tournaments. I really do like Isaiah McKenzie and Dawson Knox as my two pass catchers for the Bills. Lower ADOT guys. Dawson Knox got a nice price tag at 3.9K. I think he's a guy that can catch 4 or 5 passes in this game. If he can fall into the end zone, that could be enough to almost be optimal in this game, depending on how the Andrews and Hawkinson runouts go. Josh Allen, I probably won't have much Josh Allen in the slate. It's just hard to pay up for him and then get the other studs in that I like. So I like more so going with Huntley or Matt Ryan. Not going to be on Tua either, but I think both of these defenses are pretty good plays here. I would lean more so with the Buffalo side at 2.7K, but I think a lot of people are going to jam in that Miami defense at 2.3 to kind of help fit in some other guys. So I'm just going to X Miami's defense from my pool and not play them, but I will consider the Buffalo side.
Yeah, it makes sense. I do like both defenses cheap enough to play. Yeah, should be a really fun game, fun day of football starting up here. What, an hour and a half now till kickoff for the Vikings and the Colts. You guys did pretty solid on the like, solid enough to get our plays of the day. Meg, you're the guest on this show. We don't have a name for your play of the day quite yet. We'll get one.
We're kicking ideas around, so yeah.
Yeah. We'll throw some ideas around. We'll figure one out, but we'll give it out anyway, even nameless. So give us the Meg play of the day for the Saturday slate.
Okay. Well, like I said earlier when we talked about the Colts Vikings game, I've rostered him in every showdown in the captain, and sometimes it's worked really well and sometimes it's been really bad. So, if there's a floor, but I think there also could be 100-yard, at least a touchdown game for rookie Alec Pierce from the Colts today. Really like that against that Vikings defense. Boundary receivers have been really the ones that have been going off against the Vikings pass defense. And Alex Pierce I'm hoping he's not a zero. I'm hoping he's a hero for me today.
Love it. Alec Pierce for the Colts, cheap and good option. I'm in on that play as well. We'll go to you next, Snyder. I'm a little scared you're going to take my play, but I'll give you the opportunity to do it. Give us the Snyder's Soldier play of the day.
Yeah, I'm going to maybe take your play there. I really like that Pierce call there, Meg. I'm going to be overweight on him as well. And I'm going to go with the guy I kind of talked up in that Browns side, the Browns passing side of the ball there with Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I like it.
12 targets last week. I think he's the Will Fuller in this offense. And I look for Deshaun Watson to be aggressive and push the ball down the field. And I think he's the guy that can burn Marcus Peters, like you said. I think Humphrey is always kind of locked up Cooper on that side of the ball. So I think those two will be battling most of the game. And I think Watson's going to look to push the ball down the field to DPJ this week. So I'm going to go with him as my play of the day.
Yeah, you did indeed steal mine. That's all right. That's all right. We'll adjust. We'll stick in that same game. We'll go to Mark Andrews, all the way down to 5.7K, has a good history with Tyler Huntley. Andrews hasn't had a big game since, I believe, week 6 against the Giants. So it's been a minute for Mark Andrews, but he's the same guy, right, that we saw dominate last year at the beginning of this year. I know he's got a different quarterback, but that actually, I think, could potentially be a boost, Huntley over Jackson for Mark Andrews specifically. They really don't have a lot else in the pass game. And like I said, I do think this game could go over that 38.5 total. So we'll go with Mark Andrews as the Mom's Basement play of the day. And that'll do it for this show. Back tomorrow, of course. Snyder, I believe you're on the early show with the AP.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on for Tambo on the Off the Chalk.
Yeah, on the Off the Chalk show. And then I'll be on with Hoop and Crane on the Morning Wood show. Good luck to all the people out in New Orleans, Big T, Locks, who's normally on the show, Tambo, and several members, I believe, competing for a lot of money tomorrow. So should be fun to follow that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, for this Millie Maker show. Good luck in all your lineups today. Enjoy the day of football today and tomorrow. And we'll be back next week. Again, it'll be a different time. I think it's another Saturday slate with Christmas coming up here. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. For Meg, for SNYDER, I'm DC. We'll check you next time.